bank, or the Horritable Bank, completely and utterly horrible. Yeah, they got £8.5 million. I don't know what the turnover of Cheshire County Council is, but whatever it is, £8.5 million quid's a lot of money. I don't really know what they could have done with it instead, but there you are. Well, where are you going to put it? I mean, if you've got a load of money, and none of us have, but councils have, obviously, but you and me haven't, we've got a load of money, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to put it in a bank? Oh, failing that, it's in a pillowcase. Actually, there's been a rash of people drawing their money out of banks and putting it under the bed. Burglar. Well, then you see, what I know. But what they then do, they buy a safe. You can get a safe, you get a small safe in your local handyman shop for about 200 dabs. It's not a big one, but it'll take some dragging if you nail it to the wall. And you can get a safe. I looked the other day, I was just wondering, they've got safes on sale. When did that go? When did that start to happen? I've not noticed that. Have we all got so rich we have to have a safe from B&Q now? Dear God. Anyway, you can get, and people are getting a safe, drawing their money out the bank, putting it in the safe, and then putting the money on their house insurance. Well, I ask you. Strikes me as being a bit balmy. Anyway, Cheshire County Council are wishing they did that, because they've lost £8.5 million. We've not heard yet, but Berry, who did so well out the BCCI, gave us loads of entertainment. Berry Council appear not to have bothered. I don't know where they've got their money, or maybe they've just not got any of it back off BCCI yet, who can say. Anyway, good morning. Shall we try and not talk about the financial crisis? I am bloody sick of it. Aren't you now? I mean, I like a rolling news story as much as anybody, but dear God, you can have enough of that, can't you? Up to here with it. And I'm not really sure it bothers as many people as they say. I know the journalists are all going mad about it, but that's because they've been eating free lunches off these robbing dogs for years, haven't they? Well, they have. That's what happens. You get a phone call. I've got a story. I wanna walk past you. That's the kind of rubbish they're talking. I've got a story. I want to walk past you. I wonder if we can have a chat. And the journalist says, well, yeah, okay. Off the record. Oh, yeah, off the record. Yeah, I just want to walk it past you. Well, I'm free at lunchtime, remarkably. And off they go for lunch. Yeah, I'm bitter because I have to sit here. I can't get any free lunches. I suppose this is a free lunch, really. Anyway, so let's not talk about that. You see, I've gone back to it already. Let's ask questions like, do you think GPs, the doctors, general practitioners, do you think GPs are worth £100,000 a year? Now, that £100,000 isn't to pay for the office. That's the profit they make. Their wages plus the profit. It adds up to about an income for a GP of £100,000 a year. Not all of them. Some of them don't own the practice and aren't partnerships. They're just a GP getting a wage. They get about £70,000. So, is a GP worth £70,000 a year? That's a hell of a lot of money, you know. A hell of a lot of money. I know they do important work, and I know they work reasonably long hours, although they're nothing like as long as they used to be. I mean, for example, they don't bother with Saturdays much, you know. So, is a GP worth £70,000 a year? And if not, what is a GP worth? How do we quantify these things? I have no idea. I'm just intrigued. And then there's that lady who wants to use the sperm of her dead husband. Presumably they've already got it. It won't involve any digging. Presumably they've already got the stuff and she wants to use it. They've probably had it for... I've not read the story in detail. It struck me as being a little unsavoury. But we've been here before, haven't we? Didn't that woman called Bland? No, it wasn't her, was it? It wasn't Bland. But there was that lady, and she had to go abroad and take it with her in a sort of, I don't know, a vacuum flask or something, and then get it. I hope they warmed it up before they put it in. That would have brought the water to her eyes. Anyway, so there's that. Also in the paper, do you know Max Hastings, who's a war correspondent? He goes out doing wars and stuff. reporting them, like. I don't think he causes many, but he goes out reporting them. And he's said that the Taliban in Afghanistan cannot be beaten, he reckons. So it can't be beaten. We can't beat the Taliban. Hang on a minute. I'm just pushing a few buttons here. Get on my nerves. Yeah. He says the Taliban can't be beaten. You can win every battle. Indeed, he suggests that the British forces and other allied forces do win every battle with the Taliban. But it doesn't matter how many battles you win with them. You can't win the war. Well, if that's true, one is forced to say, if that's true, what's the point of being there? There can't be much point, can there? If you can't win it, if in the end you're just going to keep having battles ad nauseum, what's the point of doing it? 0161 228 2255. Talk about how you like. I'm not bothered. I'm not fussy. I don't like to be too picky, as you know. But there is a story today that you might enjoy. It's in the Telegraph, so not many people round here will see it, because the Telegraph doesn't sell awfully well round here. Some people buy it, but not many. You know, it's probably got more than the Guardian now I think of it, but there you are. In the state of Nebraska, in the United States of America, they introduced a scheme, and the idea of this scheme was it would allow desperate young mothers. Now, we have this problem here of young mothers who are effectively unable to cope with all that's going on in life, and they get utterly desperate. And this scheme, to which I refer in Nebraska, allows young mothers to abandon their newborn child without facing prosecution. Now, in this country, you can't. It's very hard to abandon a child because the state believes it's your responsibility. Now, they'll give you all kinds of help if you're lucky, but in the end, you can't abandon your child. You certainly can't walk into the nearest. We don't really have them anymore, do we? But you can't walk into the nearest orphanage and say, I'm fed up of this, you can have it, or I can't cope, you can have it, or take it to the social services and say, you have it. You can't. They will do everything they can to get you to keep the child, so fair enough. But in Nebraska, they've introduced this policy whereby a mother, a young mother particularly, this was the idea of it, who's desperate, it allows the young mother to abandon her newborn child or children without facing prosecution. Unfortunately, there's been a bit of an unexpected development, and that is this unexpected development that some parents with recalcitrant teenagers have dumped them. Right, all right, I've had enough of you. I'm giving you to the state. Nebraska can bring you up. 17 children, many of them their teens, have been abandoned since the law in July allowed parents and guardians to leave them at drop-off points at hospitals. The rash of older children depositors have left state authorities struggling to cope. In the latest case this week, the first involving a child from outside the state, a 14-year-old girl from Iowa was dropped off at a hospital in Omaha. State officials said the person who abandoned her could be prosecuted in the girl's home state, but authorities have been so far unable to do anything about other cases because of the loose wording of its safe haven law. So the parent, I've had enough of you. Yeah, that's the last time you don't clean your bedroom. And you get the kid, take it to the nearest hospital and say, you can have the little swine.
Some of the most important people in local sport work behind the scenes.
Like June Kelly. Last year, June was the BBC North West Sports Unsung Hero, awarded for her devotion to Abraham Moss Warriors Football Club.
It's because I believe that everybody has a right to be able to play football. It really shouldn't matter what colour you are or what religion you are if you want to play football.
Right now, you can nominate your unsung sporting hero for here in Greater Manchester.
If you know someone who gives their time and dedication to sport in your area, nominate them now at bbc.co.uk/sportsunsunghero.
Graham in Hyde. Hiya, Graham.
Yeah, hi, how are you?
I'm very well.
I just wanted to phone up to agree with you that the GP salary of 70,000 is a lot of money, because reflecting back, it's nearly a week's wage to some footballers.
Yes.
So, yeah, I do agree, it's a lot of money.
Are they worth it?
I just try and work out, though, which 70,000 I'd rather spend, a year on a doctor or a week with a footballer.
But the week with the footballer, effectively, and we learned that this week more than ever, you're not paying it. Not even the fans are paying it. It's paid by borrowings at the bank, by the look of it, if we're to believe that the Football League, the Premiership's in hock to about 3,000 million quid. That's not your money. The money spent on the GP, is that worth it out of taxation?
Well, the only thing is that as an 8-year-old, I was fortunate to be taken to Old Trafford and Main Road alternate weeks. Then I became a season ticket holder at Old Trafford, but I'm talking 25 years ago now, since I got rid of it, because in those days I could afford it, I can't now, so I must be paying some of their wages.
Well, not if you've not bought one.
Well, no, when I go to a football match, that £35 ticket must reflect their wages.
Well, it doesn't. I mean, the reality is that, and we know this, because Manchester City's fortunes, as it were, are said to have been increased massively by a rich person buying the club. But if it was funded by sponsorship and by the turnstiles, then who owns it wouldn't make any difference. It's not funded by that. It's funded by people. They don't actually put their own money in, but they sign the borrow, as it were. They sign for the loan that puts the money in. So I come back to it, but that's leisure, and you can choose not to do that.
Well, I do. I have to choose not to do it, because the it's £32, I think, the last ticket I bought at Old Trafford, but I can do the same football match, not quite the same teams, but £13 to watch Mac Town play.
Quite so.
Now,
it's the same game.
Now, their wages are nowhere near the Manchester United footballers' wages. There must be a reflection in that.
One would hope. But again, the borrowing capability of Macclesfield is substantially less than the borrowing capability of Manchester United, partially because of the availability of television revenue, guaranteed income with which to pay the loan, to service the loan. But we still come back to the question, which is the real question, and I agree with you that footballers don't appear to earn their money, but then neither do the highly paid broadcasters, apparently. But Graham, what about the GP? Is a GP worth 70 grand?
Well, it's very difficult to quantify because, you can only compare to your own salary. But I would have thought that my salary, reflecting my abilities compared to the GP's abilities, then I would have thought, yeah, that's a fair assessment.
All right, mate. Good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. Graham says 70,000 a year. Come on, it's only a week's wages for a Premiership footballer. How can that not be enough for a GP? It is a fair salary for the job. We know it's a difficult job, looking at all those warts and bumps and, I don't know, doing smears and all that kind of caper. It's not exactly highly challenging, is it? Or is it? You tell me. Is a GP worth 70,000 a year? 0161 228 2255. I'm going to talk to Bridie in New Moston, but I'm going to leave it until after the headlines, which are just a minute or so away. Because Bridie, you'd have to talk very, very quickly, and then I'd have to say halfway through your first sentence, thank you very much. So I'll talk to you at the other side of that. Ian asks a question in Stockport. Now that people are buying the electronic cigarette, which you may have seen in your newspapers yesterday and today. Now that people are buying the electronic cigarette, does that mean that in public places, instead of having a room full of smoke, there'll be a room full of nicotine mist? Could this be an example of mass medication? Well, I suppose it would be an example of mass medication if indeed it was all over the place. I'm not quite sure how they work, and frankly, I'm not that bothered, because I'll be avoiding them as much as I avoid cigarettes. But it does seem odd that they may well have got round the smoking ban by saying, well, the person's not smoking, they're using this electronic cigarette, which apparently creates this spray of nicotine, which you then, the one who wants to, then inhales. Not sure. Sounds pretty sordid, doesn't it? Rather like snuff. I witnessed again the other day on television somebody taking snuff and realised what an utterly disgusting habit it appears to be. Oh, for God's sake. OK, you might get the tobacco, but one presumes that you're also enjoying the wondrous luxury of your own snot. It's 12 on BBC Radio Manchester. News headlines. Mairead O'Kane.
Cheshire County Council's one of more than 20 local authorities across the country who've invested taxpayers' cash in Icelandic banks. It's been revealed the authority had £8.5 million invested with Heritable Bank. Police are trying to trace the last movements of a man who was found dead in the Rochdale Canal in Manchester city centre last week. The body of 46-year-old Jimmy Lynch was discovered in the water near Ducey Street in the Gay Village in the early hours of Friday morning. And the organisers of Manchester's 2009 International Festival have secured a major premiere for the city. Singer Rufus Wainwright's been commissioned to compose his debut opera. It will go on stage at the Palace Theatre next July. Manchester's weather, a dry and bright day, highs of 15 Celsius.
Well, that'll be a happy little show, won't it?
BBC Radio Manchester 2020 traffic.
M62 traffic eastbound heading towards Leeds still looking slow this afternoon, I'm afraid. Between 21 Milne Row, queues as far back as junction 20 at Rochdale after a lorry caught fire earlier this morning. It's the two dedicated inside lanes of the Ford that is still closed, heading towards Leeds while resurfacing work takes place because the carriageway was damaged during the fire. As a result of these queues, the A57, that's Mottram Road between the M67, Stockport Road and Woolly Lane also looking congested as motorists try to avoid the queues on the M62 over the Pennines. Now don't forget, if you can update me, maybe you're stuck in these delays, call in this afternoon on 0161 244 4951. I'm Cara Banks.
Decongesting Manchester, one car at a time. 2020 traffic. BBC Radio Manchester.
A very good day to you. Bridie in New Moston. Hiya, Bridie.
Hi, Alan. It's only me again.
Okay.
It's about this woman from Afghanistan who came from Pakistan 7 years ago with 7 children. And the council have moved her in to a £1.2 million house. And the council is paying nearly £13,000 a month. And all the children are all in school, so she gets quite a lot of money for that. Her son's on the paper this morning, 20-year-old, smiling his head off, saying he thinks he won the lottery. It's great, but his mother is not very happy. The house is a bit big, and she doesn't like cleaning. I just wondered if the council was going to get her a cleaner as well, seeing she's got everything else.
Well, I suspect they won't, but hey, why leave out the cleaner? It's not going to change the overall sum per annum by much, is it?
Well,
what do you think should...
She's had several houses since she came over here, but they weren't big enough. She wanted one for her books.
Oh, well, that's fair.
So
Always in favour of that.
Doesn't it really, really annoy you when we're all struggling and they're laughing their heads off because they've got a big mansion like that?
Well, it's hardly a mansion if you look at it, but never mind.
Well, £1.2 million is not a bad size house. And she's complaining it's too big.
It depends where it is. I mean, I can take you to flats in Manchester that are worth...
No, this is in London.
Yeah, that's it. I was going to say, I can take you to flats in Manchester that are worth £1.5 million.
Well, it's got It's got the house on the...
It has, and it's a detached red brick house. And it's worth 1.2 million, they say, or it probably was last week. It's probably worth less now, but
this is a massive big house that only the rich live round there.
It is. The rent they're paying, the council are paying £12,000 a month to house these. I think we end up with
benefits she's getting as well.
Indeed. What would you have happen instead, Bridie?
I don't think she should have a house like that.
What do you think she should have?
If it was an English person, they were over here with 7 children, there's no way they would give them that.
How do you know that?
They don't. You never see it. Every time you see it, it's always foreigners.
Well, have you ever thought that the reason that you don't see that in the newspaper is because it's not much of a story? It's only a story when it's a foreigner.
Well, it's been in the paper all week. Well,
yes, I'm not suggesting it's not been in the paper.
She doesn't even work, and she's as fit as you and me, and she can't even be bothered getting a job. But why should she when she's getting all that money?
But I mean, let us say you're the council. There you are. Yeah. You have this family in your area. It's got 7. There are 7 children, which means you've got to accommodate 9 people.
Yeah.
What would you do?
I wouldn't give them a big house like that.
Well, okay, we've a step. Bridie.
6 children. I know people around here have got 6 children in a 2-bedroom house.
Well, perhaps they should move. Perhaps they should move to London. Bridie, my question isn't. You see, it's easy for us, you and me, to say that's wrong. They shouldn't have done it.
Well, it's not just you and me. It is wrong.
Well, okay. It's easy for us to say that, but the question that has to be dealt with by the local authority concerned isn't, well, that'd be wrong. Let's not do it. What do we do instead? I'm asking you. What do you think they should do instead?
I think the council must have thought it was wrong as well because they've sacked the staff.
They have changed it. We have to be careful here. They have changed the way they're going to deal with private landlords, because this house is owned by a private landlord. 3 different people, local authority people, who were involved in the decision, and they've amalgamated that 3 post into 1 post, if you like. But put that to one side, Bridie. What are the alternatives?
Well, I'd give him a 4-bedroom house. I wouldn't give him a big house like that.
Well, what if you've not got a 4-bedroom house?
The councils have.
Well, they don't.
Oh, not
you see,
in London, they haven't. No.
They lived in a number of properties before being made homeless, and they approached Ealing Council. This is in the paper.
It's easy to give up a house and go homeless. You go homeless, you've got children. They soon give you a house.
Fine. They lived in a number of properties before being made homeless. Now, that doesn't say they became homeless. It says made, but I'm not going to pick words with you. And then Ealing Council didn't have a house big enough on their books. They hadn't got one. So they turned to a private landlord who had got one, and he said, well, the rent's $18,000 a month.
And he's really making a fortune out of it, isn't he?
Well, good on him. That's his job. He's a landlord.
Yeah, but I don't think they should be allowed to do it. I really don't think they should be allowed to do it.
Who's the they in that sentence?
The landlords as well.
Well, come on, why not? If I'm a landlord, well, I mean, I didn't want to go down this avenue because it's a dead end. But if I'm a landlord and I've got a huge 7-bedroom house, and the local authorities say we're having that for this family, and I say, well, the rent's $12,000 a week is what we're talking about, $12,000 a week, and they say we're not paying that, we'll give you $5,000.
Yeah.
Well, they've no right to do that. If I'm a landlord, I choose the rent I want to charge, and if the local authority don't like it, they don't get it.
Yeah, well, I don't think they should be allowed to charge that.
Well, of course they're allowed to charge it. You'll be telling me next that...
I don't think they should be allowed
Well, who else... This is getting bigger and bigger all the time. Who do you think should decide what companies sell their products for? When you go to Sainsbury's, do you think there should be a minister of state stood there at the door saying, listen, they want to sell you the bleens for 30p, but we reckon this should be 25p this week?
No.
Well, what do you want then?
No.
Who do you want to control the prices? This guy, I mean, have a go at the Afghan family if you want, have a go at the council. But the landlord, he's got an house, he's having to pay for it. He's got an house, he rents it out. He's surely entitled to decide what rent he wants, isn't he?
Well, there's that many houses now empty.
Not in London, there isn't. Not in London, there isn't. They're queuing up.
Tell them to move to Manchester.
Well, that's maybe the answer. Make them move to Manchester. I'm sure you'll make them welcome.
Well, yeah, I would.
I know you would, yeah. I'll tell you what, Bridie, you find a big house near you and I'll get them to move into that.
Oh, I don't want them near me.
Well, heaven forfend, I would never have guessed that. Have a good day, Bridie.
Okay,
cheers, love. Well, there you are. What should happen? 18,400 odd quid a month is being paid for rent. This is a family. I won't give you their name, why should I? My mum said she's not happy because the house is so big and she doesn't like cleaning. Bridie got that quote right. That's fine, leave it to rot. Would you leave it, including the rent, the family, and, including the rent, her family receive, listen to this, her family receive £170,000 a year in assorted benefits. The family receive £170,000 a year in assorted benefits. There is no way on this earth that anyone in their right mind who's getting benefits worth £170,000 from the state would get a job. If somebody said to me, right, Alan, we've got this cracking job for you, instead of you sitting at home on your bum, got a belting job for you, and it's only going to cost you £100,000 a year. I said, Pat, no, if you're paying that, I'll have it. No, we're not paying you that, Alan. That's what it will cost you. Nobody in their right mind would go to work if somebody was going to give them £170,000 a year to stay at home. But what should happen? I've no idea. 0161 228 2255. Bridie is furious. How do you feel about it? John in Moston. Hi, John.
Hi, Alan. Good afternoon.
It is.
It's getting good today. I like the programme, Alan, there.
I'm pleased to hear it.
Right, I'm not having a go at you, Alan, there, but anyway, just first of all, before we get to the main point, Alan, there, I rent a three-bedroom house out in Manchester there. My rent's £90 a week. But going on to that, Alan, there, I missed your programme yesterday. I got the last 3/4 of an hour. And what it was, Alan, there, I tried to phone you, but I left it too late till about 10 to 2. And you was having to go at the teachers going on this Jolly Boys Days out to Spain.
Indeed, they were,
Right.
and some still did.
Right, and so what happened, Alan, straight away, Pot and Keckle sprang to mind, and I thought, well, Alan's up there with some of the best freeloaders going there.
Quite so.
Right, because I thought to myself, well, just think about it there. He went to Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Paid with the flights.
Yeah.
Paid Alan, to...
Well, yeah, indeed. Listen, let's not... So far, in terms of freebie international travel, I've been to Germany with the company, and I've been with the company by the BBC, I mean, and I've been to Las Vegas.
Yeah, but...
And I once went to London. I also, with a previous radio station, went to Austria. All for free. And I think I went to Dublin as well, I can't remember. So, yeah, I pride myself on it.
And did you get paid for doing it, Alan?
Too bloody right.
And guess what, Alan? There,
What?
I said to Justin, the producer, yesterday,
Yeah.
I said, it went to Las Vegas, paid his hotel, everything.
Yeah,
And what Justin said to me, he said,
What?
well, it's sometimes it's hard work. I thought, well, that's not bad work. If I can
Well,
do it.
I don't know what planet Justin's living on. It wasn't hard work for me. The producer that went with me, Kevin, and I hesitate to say this because he may take it as credit, he worked like a dog, but that's his job, he's a producer.
Of course it is.
I just swanned about and fannied around, to be honest. And should I ever go on another trip, and who can say when one's not far away? If ever I go on another trip, I'll swan about as well, and the producer will work like a
You've got
dog.
to eat in the winter, Alan, but going back to
Oh,
that,
I love
mate,
that.
You always say, like, I'm going to this exhibition, like, with dead bodies. It's pressed
I do,
over. And I
yes.
thought, yeah. And then I'm going to the opera tonight. And I thought,
Yeah.
it's not a bad little life, this.
It's a cracking life. I rarely put my hand in my pocket.
I know.
And when I do, it's only to scratch me todger.
Well, talking about pockets, Alan, there,
Yeah.
the first thing you said today was, our doctors, GPs, worth £100,000 a year.
I
And
did,
thought,
yes.
And I thought to myself, hang on, Pot and Keckle springs to mind again.
Hmm.
There was a radio presenter, or we call them DJs around here,
Oh, dear.
and he was suing for unfair dismissal, and he'd done the same similar hours to you.
At one stage, yeah.
Yeah, at one stage, yeah. And he guess what his salary was, Alan?
Well, I don't have to guess. I read it in the paper.
£100,000 a year.
Well, that's not what it said in the paper.
Well, we must have read different papers, Alan.
We must have done, yes. I
Yeah,
only know one that reported it, but
Yeah.
they didn't say that figure.
Well, the one I did, Alan. he
Okay,
did.
well,
I know
all
you
right.
always guard your earnings secret, and good luck to you, you know what I mean?
I'm not guarding any
Yeah.
secret.
Anyway, I hope Pot and Keckle don't spring to mind again
No.
today.
But we're still left with the question, and you make your own judgment by all means as to whether I'm worth the money, whatever it might be, that they pay me to do this.
I'm one of your best fans, Alan. You're one of your
Well,
worst critics.
I can live with both of those things, even in the one person. But we still have the question, John, that is a GP worth £70,000 a year? It doesn't matter what you compare it with. Is it worth £70,000 a year?
I've just been in hospital last year, Alan. I got MRSA, everything. I mean, everything. There was brilliant to me there in North Manchester.
Well, they weren't that brilliant. They near killed you with MRSA.
Yeah, but I mean...
If you're getting 100,000 a year and they try and bump them all off, giving
that was
them
the
terrible diseases they didn't have when they come in. That's the reason for cutting their money, not lifting
No,
it.
that was the hospital, Alan, not the doctor.
Well, indeed, but I believe there's one or two of those in the hospital.
Yeah.
More doctors than cleaners, it would seem. We're still left with the question, are they worth 70,000 a year, GPs? They only do warts and bumps.
I know, Alan, but when you look at some of the, what the politicians...
But we don't have to look at all the other
I know
wages. You still come down to the question. We had Graham earlier saying footballers get that a week. Well, yes, they do. And bin men get considerably less than that. I'm still left with the question, and it doesn't matter how you come to the answer, what comparative you use to make the answer. The question is, do you think GPs are worth 70,000 a year?
I think for the training that they go through, Alan, and everything that, the unsociable hours there, I mean,
They don't do unsociable hours.
Well, you know, when they did... Well,
They don't do unsociable hours. They've just done a contract with the government where they don't have to go out unless it's really warm and it's not dark.
yeah.
So, is a GP, whatever the reason, is a GP worth $70,000 a year?
In my opinion, Alan, yes.
That's fine, that's an answer.
Some of the big practice ones there, I mean, it's...
Well, the big practice ones, they're on $100,000 a year.
Well,
Are
that's
they
what I
worth
mean,
it?
Alan, yeah.
Are they worth it?
I think so, Alan, yeah.
Good on you. Oh, well, no, that works out about £1,000 a body for shipment, doesn't it?
Mind you, I still have your job, Alan. I think
I'm sure you would. I hesitate to say this in public, but you'd probably be better at it, John.
Oh, yeah, right.
All right, mate.
God bless,
Ta-ra
Alan.
now.
See you, Alan.
That was John there. Derek in Oldham. Hiya.
Hello, how are you, Alan? You all right?
All right, Derek. What have you got for us?
Good. Yeah, it was just you had a woman on a few minutes ago, Bridie, and you were giving her a little bit of stick. I would have said over.
I merely asked her
over
questions.
Yeah, I know, but you were going a little bit harsh on her because, and you know, when you think about it, there's an awful lot of people thinking like Bridie in this country.
Indeed,
Now,
there are.
I mean, I've spoken to you before. I'm a member of the British National Party. You know that.
I do indeed.
Yeah, well, I mean, what you've got to remember is, now Bridie might have got it slightly wrong, because what Bridie should have been taking her anger out on is the politicians that have allowed this woman to come in the country in the first place, and the government that have allowed this woman to come into the country in the first place, not the immigrants themselves, because as you rightly said, if someone was offering sort of British people houses, cars, etc., to go and live in France, and I'm pretty sure a lot of us would, you know, if we could rip their system off like people are coming into this country and ripping it off, then I'm pretty sure we would, wouldn't we?
I don't know. You maybe have me at a loss here, Derek, in one respect. I don't know why this particular family is in the UK. I don't know.
It's pretty obvious.
Well, I'm not...
in the UK, for goodness sake.
Well,
you said it yourself before. It's pretty obvious why they're in the UK, because in Afghanistan, I'm pretty sure she's not going to be able to afford to have 7 kids running around and a nice house that unfortunately she doesn't want to clean.
My problem here, Derek, and it's one of my failings, and you appear to benefit from not having the same failing, but what I'm not prepared to do, and I do know it's my fault, but I'm not prepared to guess, and the article doesn't tell us. Now, I have no idea why she is here.
Well,
and she didn't, just for the record, she didn't come here from Afghanistan. She came here from Pakistan. Yeah. I have no idea why she left Afghanistan. I have no idea why she left Pakistan. It might be that she went to Pakistan because it'd make it easier to get to England. It might be...
The same thing with... It's exactly the same thing when you see, you know, I mean, Britain is one of the biggest destinations for asylum seekers. Now, whatever you think of asylum seekers, and you might say, well, they've been persecuted in their own country. Well, fair enough, but doesn't it say that an asylum seeker should claim asylum in the nearest possible country? So that means that most asylum seekers that come to Britain are actually not asylum seekers because they've gone through several safe countries to actually get it. Now, there must be a reason
we could spend all day having this conversation. The actual international regulation, it's not law, the international regulation relating to refugees and asylum seekers is not as precise as you just described it, but that's neither here nor there. I'm actually proud about the fact that people want to come to our country. I'm proud of that.
Are you proud of why they want to come to this country?
Because they think it's a better one than theirs.
No, it's because the ones that have already landed have been given free houses, free telephones, free cars, and they can ring the mates. They've got the ability to ring the mates up in all these other countries and say, get over here, get over here.
Derek, I don't know whether you want...
They're a bunch of idiots.
I'm proud that people come to our country and say, if they do say this, it's a soft touch. I would prefer they say that, and I'm not suggesting you want this to be said, but I would prefer they said, come to England because the people are kind, than I would come to England, they will spit on you and pee on you and kick you and punish you. I know you're not. I know you're not.
I wouldn't advocate that.
I know you're not.
I've got friends that are immigrants.
Some of my best friends.
Whatever you think about my party. I have got
Derek,
friends that are immigrants.
Derek,
now,
Derek, I prefaced...
Let me finish.
Well, not until you stop misquoting me. I prefaced my remark by definitely not attributing that view to you.
Right, well, that's fair enough. But
good, so let us move on.
all I'm trying to say is, at the end of the day, if this country, I mean, we are struggling as a nation, and especially now with the fact that we're bailing out a load of fat cat bankers that don't deserve it. But we are
at least they're
struggling.
white.
Well, I'm not bothered what colour they are. I'm saying we're bailing people out that don't deserve it, because at the end of the day, the government, I mean, we're on a different subject here, but the government are turning around and pretending that this is all going to benefit Joe Public. Well, I'll tell you what, Joe Public's already guaranteed his 50 grand that he's got in the bank, if he's managed to save that under the last few governments, but that's by the by, that's another subject. What we were talking about is the fact why immigrants want to come to this country, and what I'm trying to say is that the people of this country who've been paying taxes for years and years and years at high rates, they're paying it for their own benefits, not for everyone that wants to come from anywhere on the globe and cash in on it. And charity does begin at home.
We always have to end it mid-sentence. A joy to talk to you always, Derek. Have a good day, mate.
And you.
It's just gone 20 to 1 on BBC Radio Manchester. News headlines, Mairead O'Kane.
Cheshire County Council is one of more than 20 local authorities across the country who've invested taxpayers' cash in Icelandic banks. It's been revealed the authority had £8.5 million invested with Heritable Bank. Police are trying to trace the last movements of a man who was found dead in the Rochdale Canal in Manchester city centre last week. The body of 46-year-old Jimmy Lynch was discovered in the water near Ducey Street in the Gay Village early on Friday morning. And the organisers of Manchester's 2009 International Festival have secured a major premiere for the city. Singer Rufus Wainwright's been commissioned to compose his debut opera. It will go on stage at the Palace Theatre next July. Manchester's weather dry and bright today, a high of 15 Celsius.
BBC Radio Manchester 2020 traffic.
Well, if you're using the M62 this afternoon eastbound, be aware that traffic's still fairly heavy in the area. 2 lanes are closed. That's 2 dedicated inside lanes at the 4-lane stretch eastbound between 21 Milne Row and 22 Rishworth Moor after a lorry caught fire this morning. Congestion still back to 20 at Rochdale, and people are trying to avoid these queues on the M62, so are using the M67 to divert around on the eastbound between Three Hyde and Mottram Road. So it's looking quite busy there, and Mottram Road itself on the A57 also queuing up between Woolly Lane and Market Street. Now, don't forget, if you could update me further, call in on 0161 244 4951. I'm Carl Banks.
BBC Radio Manchester Sports with Will Perry.
Good afternoon. England's multi-million-dollar 2020 match against the Stamford Superstars will go ahead in Antigua next month after an agreement has been reached between Sir Alan Stamford and the West Indies main backers Digicel over sponsorship and branding problems. Well, with each player winning was set to collect $1 million in prize money, England batsman Alistair Cook has admitted that the cash is the most important thing.
The actual cricket is quite unimportant apart from financially. We'll use it as a warm-up for probably the 2020 World Cup in England next year, and of course money does talk, and obviously a lot of the players are, we're excited about playing it, but in terms of cricket importance, we know it's not that important and that we can only benefit, which is, a good position to be in. But, you talk about the Stamford Millions or the Ashes, there's probably only one winner.
Well, Sri Lanka is set to send a weakened team to England next spring after the country's sports minister told 13 senior players they can play in the Indian Premier League instead. They signed up for the lucrative competition before Sri Lanka were invited to replace Zimbabwe. At close of play on the opening day of the first test against India in Bangalore, Australia had reached 254 for 4. Captain Ricky Ponting made 123. In Rugby League, Swinton Lions chairman John Kidd has announced that following intensive negotiations, the Lions will continue to play at Sedgley Park's ground in Whitefield. It was thought that Swinton would move to the Darwin area of Blackburn for next season. The head of European football is threatening to introduce rules to prevent English football losing its identity. UEFA President Michel Platini wants to avoid a situation where an English club would have, in his words, an Arab president, a Brazilian coach and 11 African players. The England captain John Terry won't train today in order to receive more treatment for his back injury. He's a major doubt for Saturday's match against Kazakhstan. He's also a doubt for Wednesday's match in Belarus. Wigan striker Emil Heskey has resumed training. Well, the man who would captain England in Terry's place believes time is running out for him to win a trophy with his country. Manchester United defender Rio Ferdinand has won Champions League and Premier League honours with his club and is desperate for success with the Three Lions.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, because I'm not going to see too many more tournaments, I'm sure, after this one. Hopefully I'll maybe get another 1 or 2 in, but if I'm lucky. But time's running out to be successful with England, and I don't really want to finish my career not having a chance at playing at least a final and win one.
Manchester United defender Johnny Evans has now flown out to join the rest of the Northern Ireland squad in Slovenia. That's after being delayed by a virus. The Newcastle vice-president, Tony Jimenez, has left the club to pursue other interests. Jimenez was in charge of player recruitment and was only appointed by owner Mike Ashley in January. Rochdale go to Lincoln tomorrow night in League Two. Dale boss Keith Hill is becoming increasingly frustrated with talk of promotion and says that the club shouldn't have expectations because they've not had the success to build expectation on.
The expectancy doesn't help the players, especially when it seeps onto the pitch from the fans. We shouldn't have that expectancy because we haven't been successful. This football club, in its history, has not been successful. We're trying to build success.
We'll have coverage of Rochdale's trip to Lincoln in the all-new Manchester Sports from 7 o'clock tomorrow night. Bury manager Alan Neil believes the key to the Shakers continuing their good start to the season will be their home form. Bury have won 3 and drawn 1 in their 4 league games at Gig Lane this campaign and face Exeter on Saturday, and Neil wants that to continue.
Well, I hope so, but we know with that, we've got to be on our game, and so far so good, but there's an awful long way to go. But it is a record that the home record that we've got that we're proud of and we really want to keep.
And finally for now, Evander Holyfield could make a comeback to the boxing ring and try to become the oldest world champion. He's 46 next week and has been offered a fight with the 7-foot Russian Nikolai Valuev.
Good comeback, yeah.
The next live action on the Northwest's biggest sports station.
That would be a sight, Beswick. Tomorrow we've got coverage of England against Wales in Rugby League and Rochdale's trip to Lincoln in League Two in the all-new Manchester Sports from 7.
BBC Radio Manchester.
A very good day to another Derek. This one's in Bolton. Hiya, mate.
Hiya, Alan.
What have you got?
Well, I just want to comment on that. The refugees, she's now over and out of, 3 years has she been over here? About how much got the rent for her down in London.
Indeed, yeah. The lady receiving a total in benefits, apparently, of 170,000 a year. I'd love to see how they work that out, but go on, yes.
I mean, the first hour, it was like £12,000 a month. I mean, she's in an area where it's like £1 million, £2 million houses. People willing to pay that money to get on that street. I don't think she should have been put there. And if the council's got the opportunity or the first thing to do it by the government, I want to know what the government did to me and the council. I was homeless for 9 months. I've no fault of my own. I was in Northern Ireland, come back, you changed my locks, I've lost all my property, everything. I've no memories of any photograph memories of the family.
Were you an individual or were you a family at the time?
No, I went through a divorce, unfortunately.
So you were an individual man on his own?
I mean, what does that matter, Alan?
Well, I merely point out the legislation puts no responsibility on the local authorities to house homeless single men.
What about the medical conditions?
It puts no responsibility on the local authorities to house...
So like to throw someone from the streets is rigid with... Well, not rigid with arthritis, but I've got site arthritis, which can get worse when the cold. I paid my rent anyway, you know what I mean? I paid my rent. Yeah. And I had no help whatsoever. I just got doors shut in my face. Damn. I mean, me being homeless, I was not fortunate I've had family and friends. But the main thing, I lost my personal belongings. I've no photographs of my parents who's deceased. I mean, the kids now, they've grown up a bit now, they live in Manchester. etc. Where are you in that and that?
Okay, well, let's get to the nub of it.
Yeah, sorry,
it's okay. Putting to one side the Afghan family, I can understand why you're upset at that. I don't quite understand your own personal story. You said you came back from Northern Ireland.
Well, I was working in Northern Ireland at the time, but I was paying my rent on a regular basis.
Yeah. Did you have a private or local authority land?
No, it was a local authority.
Local authority house?
Yeah, Burnley Council. I'm sorry to mention it, but that doesn't mean no favours.
No, well, indeed, but it's me that you're upset with that, not them, but go on.
I'm sorry about that.
That's all right, go on.
But,
so you came back, and the locks had been changed on the house?
So I went round to the council office, and, there was up in court yesterday. So it was my birthday yesterday. Now, apparently I was up in court. And I had no warning, no nothing. But
when you say your partner was up in court...
No, I was up in court, Alan.
Right.
Sorry, I was looking for...
I'm trying to get to the bottom of what happened and hopefully get some sense of why, because it sounds at the moment like you've been treated appallingly, and you certainly think that you have. Now, you went to Northern Ireland. When you went to Northern Ireland to work, was that a permanent job?
Yeah, that's a permanent job, that. I lost my job because of the situation.
No, I don't know what you mean now by you lost your job. Let's just answer what I ask you and don't throw out else in us. I'll be completely confused. So you went to... You moved effectively to Northern Ireland?
No, my job. The job moved.
Indeed. Well, yeah, and you went with it. Was that you and your family or just you?
Yeah, just me.
Just you.
Yeah.
So prior to that, where were you living?
In the flat.
In the flat?
Yeah.
With your family or without?
No, without family.
Right, so you were a tenant in a flat in, I think you said Burnley?
That's right, yeah.
Okay, you were a tenant in a council flat in Burnley, and you went to live in Northern Ireland.
No, I didn't live in Northern Ireland, I just worked there. My base was in Northern Ireland.
Well, my guess is that if that's where you were, I mean, you used the phrase, I came back from Northern Ireland, and the contrary to come back to Northern Ireland is you got to go there first. So you were in Northern Ireland. Did you come back every weekend?
No, every so often. I worked in Europe, you see. My base was in Northern Ireland, I went round Europe.
Yeah, did you come back to your flat at all?
Yeah, I did, after 4 weeks. 4.5 weeks I spent 4.5 weeks in France.
Right.
So in France, and I come back.
Right, so you were working all over the place, but as far as you were concerned, you still lived in Burnley.
Oh yeah, I paid my taxes
and you continued to pay your rent.
Yes.
Right.
31 quid a week.
Well, the amounts are interesting but not relevant. So you were continuing to pay. When you come back and found that the locks had been changed, what reason did the local authority give for that action?
Well, when I went to the local council office, they said, well, you haven't paid your rent. I said, I have. That's some arrears that I have. I didn't think I had any. And later on the years, I went to court on my own. I took it to court on my own.
Just a sec. So they said you had arrears.
Yeah.
And you said you didn't.
Correct.
Without telling me how we got to it, what was the eventual decision about that? Were they right or were you right?
Yeah, I was wrong. I went to court.
No, I didn't ask who was wrong. It's a different question. Were they right or were you right?
I was right.
You were right, thank you. So you didn't have any arrears, and what made them, when they were in court, what made them, or what did they say, made them think that you had?
I've no idea.
Okay, so they got it wrong. Have they then since compensated you for the loss of your property?
No, the situation's gone worse and worse and down and worse and worse.
Okay, how long ago was this?
This is 1998, this. June 1998.
Okay, well, it's too late now, but you should have...
No. I'm sorry, Alan, but I know you feel it's too late. A lot of people feel it's too late, but if I wouldn't come into a lot of money, I would hesitate.
Well, you wouldn't get anywhere because the law only allows you to go back 6 years for a debt, so it's too late.
Excuse me, Alan, you say that, and I know that, on a lot of things. But how comes they're taking money out of my poll tax to 1992 when it was abolished?
Well,
in 1992.
It's the rather unsavoury nature of the law, the civil law that you would be suing Burnley Council under gives you 6 years to make your claim, but with taxes it's 12.
Well, 1992 is a lot more than 12 years ago.
Well, indeed, but it varies with council tax because the problem with unpaid council tax is you're dealing with a criminal offence as well, and there's no end of life on a criminal offence.
I know, but I had no bills in 92, Alan. I was married, kids...
Well, indeed. We already know that their accounting in your name appears to have gone awry. Derek, it's been fascinating talking to you. Thank you very much indeed. We're going to talk to Jack in Droylsden in a moment.
Caffeinated conversation with Heather Stott and friends.
What was it like being part of this very professional machine that is TV?
Oh, man, it's not easy. Waiting in the cold around for hours on end.
I'm sorry, but I'm not buying that. Because you pretend for a living, that's what you do. Don't tell me that dressing up and be on the telly is hard work. Do you find that the four of you are honest? Yeah, I think so. Are you? Yeah. Why are you laughing, Graham?
When you said about being honest, this is an estate agent.
No, I don't lie. I'm just very economical with the truth. That's me.
Heather Stott.
Do you like that?
Tomorrow morning from 9 on BBC Radio Manchester.
A very good day to you. 0161 228 2255. Radio Manchester at bbc.co.uk, and the text number is 07786 208 95 206. Oh, stuff it. What do I know? Jack in Droylsden. Hiya, Jack.
Hi, Alan.
206 951. It's just come back to me. Go on, mate.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, good. Yeah, it's just the asylum problem that you came up with. You said that you're proud that people come to this country.
I didn't. Well, first of all, I didn't say that.
Yes, you said you was proud that people come to this country. So
no, I didn't say that.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
Well, I did. I've got it here. Anyway.
Well, you haven't got it there because I didn't say it.
Like our benefit system. Is that what you're proud of? That people come over here?
Let me tell you what, Jack. Let me tell you what I did say, and then you can have your say about that. What I said was, I'm proud that people want to come to this country because we treat them kindly. That was what I said.
Well, we may treat them kindly, but do you not think that they actually come to this country just to accept the benefit system and the generosity of our government?
No, I don't actually, no.
You don't, really?
No.
Well, I think you're living in Cloud Cuckoo Land. I have supported
Cloud Cuckoo Land. I like Cloud Cuckoo Land.
This is why the country's in so much trouble with people like you. This mamby-pambying things about the asylum seekers.
You see, how easy would you find it, Jack? How easy would you find it to leave your home? How easy?
It depends on what reason that I'm leaving it for.
All right. Well, what if you were leaving it to go to another country to get money? Do you think they enjoy it?
I mean,
go to
England's the benefit system of the world.
Well, Jack, Jack.
We hand it out to people that have never paid into the system.
What I'm trying to do for you, Jack. What I'm trying to do for you, Jack, and you know, it's kind of me, but I may fail. What I'm trying to do for you is to get you to consider it other than somebody stealing from you. Try to see it. You think people would pack up their bags and come to this country for the welfare benefit system? You might be right. Do you know anyone, Jack, who works abroad? Anyone? Anyone at all? Whether they're working for an oil state or whether they're a builder going to Germany. Do you know anyone that works abroad?
Yes.
You do?
I do.
And do they love the fact that they're working somewhere else? Or do they say they'd actually rather be at home?
No, because they're earning very good money.
No, I'm not talking about the money, Jack. I'm talking about the person now, because I see beyond the pound sign, even in our Chancellor. So, Jack, do they enjoy the fact that they're away from their family and from their home? Or are they there, would they, if somebody said to him, you can earn the same money here, would they come home, or would they say, stuff that, I don't want to be in the house with my wife and kids, you think I'm a lunatic? Or would they stay? Or would they? Or would they work? Or would they work at? Would they work away, even if the money was the same? In your view?
In my view, they would still work away.
You think they'd still work away? So it's being away from home that they like. It's not actually the money that's taking them there.
Yes.
Okay. Do you think that that person you know, or those people you know that are doing that, are somehow a different species than people who are born in different lands than this one? Or do you think we're all...
No, so that's not my point.
Oh, what is your point?
That you made the statement. That's why I'm ringing up. I mean...
I know why you're ringing up, Jack. You told me.
Exactly. But you keep trying to change the subject here, and it's not...
No, I was trying to discuss it rather than just have a tirade from you, but I'll settle for the tirade if that's all you've got.
No, I don't want a tirade. I just want people that, you know, you seem to make these statements that we should have an open border policy.
I do.
You know, that we should just, you know, allow everybody to come to the country.
But Jack, you have to... Jack, you see, again, you are misquoting me again. Jack,
you let the enemy in through the back door because of your open border policy.
You're misquoting me again, but feel free, because I'm big enough to take it.
You had an open border.
But I actually say...
That's your policy. You say, you don't mind everybody...
Jack, no matter how many times you repeat it, it won't turn into what I said. It's that bizarre, I know, but you keep repeating... No, you keep talking, it'll be okay, don't worry.
No, that's fine, no, you carry on, because... You know...
Well, that's kind of you, thank you.
You know what kind of statements you make.
I do indeed. Apparently you appear not to. Jack, you're going to go. I'm going to stay. Bye-bye.
Hi,
I'm Becky Want. Join me today. Without Judy, I will be talking, though, to Richard Madeley. That's on BBC Radio Manchester from 2.
Can Richard Madeley talk without his wife's arm up his back? No idea. I thought he was a puppet. Or is it a puppet? Maybe I misheard. 0161 228 2255. Have your say, why don't you?
95.1 FM.
DAB Digital Radio.
And the World Wide Web.
This is Manchester.
BBC Radio Manchester.
At 1 o'clock, Cheshire County Council affected by collapse of Iceland banks, and Gordon Brown defends decision to bail out banks in Britain.
And cricket's Stamford deal has been brokered.
Well, this afternoon is bright and breezy. We've got some really nice spells of sunshine and top temperatures of 15 Celsius.
And if you're using the M62 on the eastbound, 2 lanes are still closed off whilst emergency repairs take place between 21 Milne Row and 22 Rishworth Moor.
Good afternoon, I'm Mairead O'Kane. Cheshire County Council is seeking an urgent meeting with the Chancellor Alistair Darling about money it had invested in Icelandic banks and their UK subsidiaries. The authority has £8.5 million invested with Heritable Bank, a UK subsidiary whose parent bank Landsbanki is being put into administration by the Icelandic government. More than 20 local councils have been affected by the collapse of banks in Iceland. The local government minister John Healy says the councils couldn't be treated in the same way as individual investors.
These are local government institutions. They have professional advice and professional staff. They're well-informed investors. They do have duties to the public purse, which they follow. And we've heard today that from councils that this isn't money that's lost, it's money that may be at risk, but many are confident of recovering quite a proportion of this.
Meanwhile, Gordon Brown's insisting his rescue package for Britain's banks isn't rewarding irresponsibility. The government's put in a £50 billion stake in the 8 major lenders, but the total bill in loans and guarantees could be as high as $500 billion. The Prime Minister says there will be conditions attached.
You cannot reward, you've got to penalise excessive and irresponsible risk-taking. And part of our plan is that this executive remuneration and the bonus system is brought into line with responsibility and not rewarding irresponsibility and excessive risk-taking that has done so much damage to the banking system in America and now has affected Britain.
Police want to trace 2 people who tried to rescue a man who drowned in the Rochdale Canal in Manchester city centre last week. The body of 46-year-old Jimmy Lynch was discovered in the water near Ducey Street in the Gay Village early on Friday morning. Detective Superintendent Julian Ross says they're looking for a man who tried to help at the scene and another who dialed 999.
We're keen to trace 2 males. The first one was down at the scene and we believe is assisting in trying to recover Jimmy from the water before he went under. And this male is described as having a torch. The second witness we also believe was down at the canal bank at that time, and they phoned 999 and were put through to the fire brigade.
A teenager is gone on trial accused of the murder of Rhys Jones, the 11-year-old boy shot dead in Liverpool in August last year while he was on his way home from playing football. Liverpool Crown Court was told that Sean Mercer, who's 18, had been trying to shoot someone else as part of a long-running feud between rival gangs. He denies murder. The pilot who died when a light aircraft crashed onto Saddleworth Moor has been named as Niall Gover from Stockport. The father of 2 owned a children's nursery in Heaton Moor. The plane came down near Greenfield in Saddleworth after taking off from Barton Aerodrome yesterday afternoon, and investigations underway. And the organisers of Manchester's 2009 International Festival have secured a major premiere for the city.
We're really thrilled that Rufus Wainwright is going to write his first opera, and that Manchester Festival with Opera North are going to develop that with him and premiere it here in Manchester next summer.
That's the festival director Alex Poots, who spoke to BBC Radio Manchester. Prima Donna is a portrait of a fading opera singer. It will be set in Paris and sung in French, and it follows the festival's premiere last year of Monkey Journey to the West, which saw pop act Gorillaz turn to opera.
BBC Radio Manchester Sports with Will Perry.
England's multi-million-dollar 2020 match against the Stamford Superstars will go ahead in Antigua next month after an agreement has been reached between Sir Allan Stamford and the West Indies main backers Digicel over sponsorship and branding problems. England batsman Alistair Cook has admitted that the money is the most important thing about the Stamford match. He says the actual cricket is unimportant, apart from financially. At close of play on the opening day of the first test against India in Bangalore, Australia had reached 254 for 4. Captain Ricky Ponting made 123. England captain John Terry won't train today in order to receive more treatment for his back injury. He's a major doubt for Saturday's World Cup qualifier with Kazakhstan. He's also a doubt for Wednesday's match in Belarus. However, Wigan striker Emil Heskey has resumed training this afternoon. The Newcastle Vice President Tony Jimenez has left the club to pursue other interests. Jimenez was in charge of player recruitment and was only appointed by owner Mike Ashley in January. And Swinton Lions chairman John Kidd has announced that the following intensive in negotiations, the Lions will continue to play at Sedgley Park's Park Lane ground in Whitefield. It was thought that Swinton would move to the Darwin area of Blackburn next season.
BBC Radio Manchester satellite weather with Heather Stott.
Well, this afternoon is going to be mainly dry, and it's going to be bright, and it's going to be breezy. The sunshine will turn increasingly more hazy as cloud starts to push in, but it should stay dry, and top temperatures a pleasant 15 or 16 Celsius.
Allan Beswick with you on the phones. 0161 228 2255.
BBC Radio Manchester.
Aye, all right. Good-o. Good-o. 0161 228 2255. Radio Manchester at bbc.co.uk. And, of course, you can text 07786 206 951. On the subject of migration and going elsewhere for a better life, there's none do it better than the British. None do it better than the British. Even now, since the end of the Second World War, more Brits have left the United Kingdom to live and work somewhere else. In total, more Brits have left the United Kingdom to live and work somewhere else than foreign people come to the United Kingdom to live and work, or even sponge, here. More people since the Second World War have gone to be immigrants in other countries, social migrants to other countries, than have social migrants come here. And of them that go, quite a lot come back, because living away from your homeland is, for many, horrible. Horrible. We all know somebody who's emigrated to Australia. Not liked it. The whole family haven't liked it on balance as much as everybody thought they would, and they've come back. There are television programmes about it, for God's sake. We even have the situation where a television programme, you might remember, it was called Auf Wiedersehen, Pet, where all those men had to go to Germany to work because there was no work in Britain. And they loved the fun, they loved the crack, they loved dealing with the German prostitutes and all the rest of it. But they'd rather be at home. I suspect many of the people in our land, our country, who are from foreign parts would rather be at home. I'm a big old softy, as you know. 0161 228 2255. Radio Manchester at bbc.co.uk. The text number is the same. I've remembered it, which is not the same. 07786 206 951. Joan in Castleton. Hiya, Joan.
Hi, Alan.
What can we do for you?
Well, it's a miracle that you remember all them anyway, because you're getting old and you shouldn't really remember things like that.
I ought not, you're right. Telephone number's a complete mystery to me now.
Believe me, I'm the same.
It's outrageous. Go on.
I've listened to all this morning, and there's not been one woman on. They've all been men.
Well, Bridie, I think, would qualify.
Oh,
but,
yeah. Sorry.
Unless you know something I don't.
Oh, God forbid, I'm sorry about that.
Go on.
Honestly, you know, they rant and rave and everything else about the letting them in, the letting... Do you not think it comes down to the governments? Everybody should, to my way of thinking, they're welcome to come here. And they are, whether they're black, white, green, yellow, I don't care about the colour. I have got good friends who are black. And, you know, they laugh at us because they say, why does it come down to colour? I said, I really don't know.
Well, it isn't.
I'm quite
It isn't doing.
ashamed, actually.
It isn't doing on this occasion. I mean, I know there are an awful lot. One of our difficulties when dealing with immigration is we no longer count many of what you and I would describe as white people who immigrate because they come from the European Union and we can't prevent them. They're not immigrants. European Union, you're allowed to live and work wherever you wish within it if you're from there.
Well, listen.
So the only people that do immigrate now really are of a different skin colour than you and I. Not only, but the predominantly so.
No, I'm with you.
So that's how you end up in that position. But, But do you really believe we should let anybody in?
No.
How do we decide then?
Well, it's in Australia now. If you want to go there, there's a list of who's needed. Now, I'm not saying this is right in a way, but nurses are the top. And guess what's the second? Hairdressers.
Indeed. But if
you know what I mean?
Indeed.
They've got this thing that you either have to have so much money. Just say your children are there. And you as a parent want to be with your children. You have to prove that you've got so much money.
Yes, you have to establish to the immigration authorities of Australia that you will not be a burden on the state, otherwise they won't let you in.
Yeah.
Now, do you think we should have that policy here?
Yes, I do.
Now, it's hard for you to say this, but what jobs would you have? Because I'm not sure what jobs we're short of.
Well, this is something else. Now, my friend, who is a really good friend, works at Manchester Royal. And she has been all over the world interviewing nurses.
Yeah, I've got a friend of mine. A friend of mine working for Manchester went to a number of countries trying to recruit teachers from abroad.
Yeah,
because we didn't have enough.
And
couldn't get them to come.
No, but this particular friend of mine went to India. And she went to China, and they were interviewing, and the one thing they had to do was speak English. Now, even she admitted it was a bit dodgy whether they could speak
fluent
but
English.
Then again, let's be honest, we're from Manchester area, and you know, the Queen's English, we do not speak.
Indeed so, and I'm grateful for that. I mean, you've got a Glaswegian coming to Manchester, a Brummie coming to Manchester, a Manc going to Glasgow or to Birmingham, and God alone knows how.
It's hilarious, isn't it? Because I look at some of my friends who are from Scotland or wherever, Wales, and they look at me and they say, yeah, but you don't speak like what we do. I said, no, but you're coming to Manchester.
Let's go back to this idea of just letting in the people that our economy or our services need, like hairdressers or indeed nurses.
Yeah.
Now, can we put hairdressers to one side? Because frankly, I can live without them. I could cut my own if it come to it.
Yeah, I've got my own, but, you know.
But let's deal with people like nurses and others, even hairdressers. The problem is that Australia, being a tiny country, I know it's huge, but the population of Australia is minuscule.
Well, yeah.
Tiny.
I agree.
So, if they say, well, all right, we're going to let nurses in, the nurse they allow in has been trained by the local authorities and the education authorities and the National Health Service here.
Well,
they've been trained at your expense.
Yes.
And now they're going to work in Australia. And so what the nurse has actually done, and I don't criticise her or him for this, but what they've actually done is take £100,000, the training cost of a nurse, including the wages, out of the system and move to Australia.
Yeah.
Well, OK, that doesn't matter much because we are, despite what's gone on recently, we are quite a rich country.
Yes, we are.
OK.
I agree.
What about then if we decide, well, OK, let's recruit nurses, and we bring nurses from places that already have few nurses? Some of the African countries, some parts of India, some of the other countries, and we bring them here. Not only are we taking the money out of that nation and taking it for our own use as a rich nation, we're actually condemning people in that country from whence they came to death.
Right. Now, my angle on that is that they want to better themselves, which, Alan, we all do. You swap jobs more than anybody I know. Well, you and Heather Stock.
Not for the past 25 years, but they've always been round here.
You
But
know
go
what
on.
I'm saying?
I do, yes, I do.
You cannot help people wanting to better themselves.
Well, I agree with you there. It's perfectly understandable that they want to better themselves.
Yes.
But should we, so that our health service patients can get their warts addressed and have their IVF and all the other unnecessary treatments, unlife or death treatments, take the resources of a foreign land and expose the people of that foreign land to death by a horrible disease because we've got a nurse over here helping on cosmetic surgery? So some rich hag from Cheshire gets her nose put straight, but 4 kids die during childbirth in Africa because we've got their
Now,
nurse.
listen.
How do we justify that?
Right. Nobody can ever justify that.
Well, we
but-
do justify it by having a
yeah,
policy
but
of letting them in.
always-
Australia does
You
it.
always look after your own. Now, Alan...
How very unbiblical of you.
Is it?
Is that what it says in the Bible? Screw the poor, look after your own first? Or does it say, let us all help everybody?
Yeah, but it comes down to anybody. They'll look after the first, them.
But that doesn't
And
make it
they-
right.
No, it doesn't.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought
Alan,
you were
no.
advocating that as a policy.
Oh, no, love. I'm saying that's how people look at things.
Indeed.
And about this lady that's come in and got this posh house, I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of it. None of us do. But I really don't agree with that. In the fact that we've got people living here who have been here all their lives, and the only thing is, I don't agree that the government give out money to all these that say they're sick, and they... Anyway, that's another situation.
Indeed it is, and we'll be worn out if we stay with it. Go
well,
on.
yeah, we'll be here all day,
Go
won't we?
on.
But I do think that it's up to the government to, how can I say, go into things more.
All right. Well, Joan, you can't be wrong when you say the government should regulate accordingly, but they think they're getting it right, rather bizarrely. Mark in Littleborough. Hiya, Mark.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm very well.
You're talking about immigration. What about emigration?
Yeah, what about it?
Right. I'm a bit confused, actually. I know people... Excuse me, sorry about that.
It's okay.
Who've taken up Spanish residency.
Yeah, thousands of them have done it.
Emigrate,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But yet, they come over here, to the UK, for the NHS treatment they need.
They do,
and
yeah.
dentistry.
They do indeed.
Well,
And who can blame them?
is it... That's why I'm confused. They're not UK residents anymore. They come over for nothing on these cheap flights, won't name the airline, and go back for tons. Job's done. Now that doesn't seem fair to me. When they're ringing me up in the middle of bloody February and telling me how gorgeous.
I don't think we need to introduce your personal bitterness. I've had similar experiences.
Oh,
but
yeah.
these people you're talking about, I presume, are those that have retired to the sun, as they say. And aren't they suffering now? That'll serve the beggars, right? But
No, they're working.
they're working.
Oh, well.
But why shouldn't they?
They can. I'm just confused.
Why? What's confusing about that?
Well, by Spanish residency, does that mean they've left their English or British residential and gone, given themselves to a foreign land? Can I put it that way? In other words, they're Spanish.
Well, they're not Spanish, are they? In fact, they're European. But
Well, it's a bloody good do, isn't it?
It's an excellent do. I'm hoping to take advantage of it myself
Are you?
eventually. Oh, God, yes. I intend to retire to somewhere warm. Italy, France, probably. Not Spain.
No, I
But
don't.
Italy, well, I don't dislike it, but Italy or France for me. Probably France. Yeah. Why?
All right, that's fair enough.
Good. I'm glad you approve.
I do approve. I'm always just confused.
All I've got to do now is find someone that'll pay me to be there, and I'll go now. But for the time being, I'll have to wait.
Don't get just yet.
No, okay. Well,
wait
thank you.
till after 2 o'clock.
Wait till after 2. we don't want 20 minutes of nothing, do we?
No.
Mind you, from what I've heard of the last 20 minutes, it might be better.
Well,
that's cruel. I apologise to you, Auntie Joan.
Thank you.
I don't.
Mornings sound better with Eamon O'Neill and Diane Oxbury.
Eamon and Diane.
You know when I said my cooker had broken and I was sitting in the corner just insulting us, refusing to turn itself on? The man came out to fix it yesterday. He walked through the door and walked into the kitchen and went, "You're not going to like this," and just moved the timer switch.
Eamon and Diane and you.
He's supposed to put a shower in. I said it's not worked for 3 months since he went in. And a couple of days after they sent an engineer and he went in, he said your shower's not been turned off.
She's the one who didn't know how to turn the shower on.
She's the trouble causer.
The Station with Eamon and Diane for breakfast.
Are you mad, girl?
Back tomorrow morning from 6 at BBC Radio Manchester.
A very good day to you. Linda says, can you answer me a question about the lady from Pakistan/Afghanistan? How did she manage to get all the books out of her native country if she was fleeing? And why should the British taxpayer pay for them to be kept? Well, I don't know that she did get them all out of Afghanistan and Pakistan whilst in the process of fleeing. She may have bought them all here. I've no idea. She's certainly got enough money. If she's getting 170,000 a year, she probably could buy the local library. She'd have to buy it back off the Icelandic bank that probably now owns it, but never mind. I don't know the story about the books. It's a nice story, though, and it does add a certain piquancy to it, does it not? But there you are. I don't know how she got the books here. But I do know that if you said to somebody, well, we would have let you stay, but you've got too many books, so you're going home. I don't know how we'd get that past, but it would be fun, wouldn't it? Thank you, Linda. It's 1:20 on BBC Radio Manchester, and Miranda Kane has the headlines.
Ministers will meet council leaders this afternoon to discuss what to do about local authorities that have money tied up in Icelandic banks. Cheshire County Council is affected. It has £8.5 million in the Heritable Bank. Police have released the name of a pensioner who was killed in a hit-and-run accident in Stockport. 89-year-old Dorothy Wade died after she was hit by a car on Turvis Road in Heald Green yesterday morning. And a post-mortem's taken place on the body of a 21-year-old found in a flat in Timperley. It revealed Leanne Marie Brown died as a result of pressure to the neck. A 24-year-old man's being charged with her murder. The weather for Manchester, mainly dry, bright and breezy this afternoon, a high of 15 Celsius.
BBC Radio Manchester, 2020 traffic.
If you're using the M62 and you're travelling Leeds bound, watch out. 2 lanes are still closed. Of the 4-lane stretch, that's lanes 1 and 2. So please be prepared to meet up with some rather heavy delays. There was a lorry fire this morning between 21 Milne Row and 22 Rishworth Moor. Congestion still back to 20 at Rochdale. And again, those lanes are being repaired at the moment. And if you're using the M67 eastbound, traffic's still queuing up as well between 3 Hyde and Stockport Road as people try to avoid the queues on the M62. No major issues on public transport. If, of course, you know different, call in. And the number's 01612 244 4951. I'm Cara Banks.
BBC Radio Manchester.
With 2020 traffic through until midnight.
Through until midnight.
BBC Radio Manchester.
It's an ill wind that doesn't blow anybody any good or something like that. Bill in Royton says, what a firecracker of a programme you're having today. I honestly do not know how you keep your cool when pretty well all your callers up to 1 o'clock are talking non-stop over your blah, 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 blah. Okay. Oh, yeah, I preened when I read that, obviously. Why wouldn't I? And then Brian sent this. I've got an idea, Alan, for a phone-in programme. A presenter sits in a studio and invites comments and opinion from listeners. Matters to begin to be discussed, but before a caller has an opportunity to make their point, the presenter constantly interrupts the caller, culminating in repeatedly shouting their name down the phone until the caller eventually abandons what they're trying to say and gives up, leaving listeners none the wiser. What do you think? Brian, I've no idea. I can't imagine it'll catch on. Or have I been doing it for 3 decades? I can't quite work out which it is. Mike in Bury. Hiya, Mike.
Hi there, Alan.
What have you got?
It was just reference back to your much earlier one, reference paying doctors.
Oh, yes, 70,000 for the GP.
Yeah, I think it's down to that old saying, a fair day's work for a fair day's pay.
Mm-hmm.
And linked into that is the service you personally receive. I get good service from my doctor.
Yeah.
I think if it's 70 shillings or 100, I think she's worth it because she gives me good service.
Okay.
It's as simple as that. You know, same with the doctor in the hospital. I've just come out of the hospital. He did a good job on me, I think. So far, everything seems all right. So, yeah, I reckon he's worth his money. What I don't like is hearing of the ones who are on the 70s and 100,000s who, quite clearly, don't do a good day's work. And you'll hear this about a lot of people, television and so forth, where they say, oh, he earns this much money. And one part of the population will say, what a load of rubbish, he's not worth that. And they'll say, oh, it's great, he's certainly worth that.
Yeah, but how do we... I mean, it is an interesting way of looking at it, but how do we quantify that? Because you can't have a sort of popularity contest for GPs. I mean, in my job, that's all there is. It doesn't matter how good or bad you are. If you're reasonably proper, you survive, even if you're crap. And I seem to have evidenced that for quite a long time. But you can't do that with GPs, can you, on a popularity? There are certain things we need them to do.
We do indeed. But we've always had this problem, haven't we? We've always had, in years gone by, we've had unions arguing because comparability is it to something. We used to be third in the table.
Yeah,
and
parity and all that, yes, I know what you mean, parity, yeah.
We're up and down, you know, we're 20% less than we were when 6
That's
years
right.
ago.
We used to be the best paid. Now we're only the third best paid. So we're going on strike to get back to the best paid. And the one who's become the best paid said, "Well, we're not taking a cut if they get more than us." And on it goes. I understand the parity argument, and it's a nightmare argument, isn't it?
I think it's a very difficult one to evaluate. You know, and I think it's down really that everybody who does a fair day's work should get a fair day's pay for it.
But you see,
as simple as that.
I mean, that's a problem, though, isn't it? I mean, what is a fair day's work? Is it the amount of hours you do? Is it the quality of what you do? I've no idea. I know that I'll rephrase that. I do not know many people who work less hard than me. I don't know many people who work less hard than me.
Yeah.
Because I do a 2-hour day at something I love that involves sitting in an air-conditioned studio for a reasonable amount of money with people making coffee for me. I mean, come on. You know,
I must admit that's a very nice situation. But I bet there's a lot of work goes in.
No, there's not. Please do. You don't
around it.
I know it doesn't fall in line.
Try bending me around that much, you know.
What I'm after is how do we quantify? I mean, you say they give good service. Your GP is worth the money because she gives good service. Let me throw a spanner into your argument. If you'd have gone to Hyde just after they arrested Shipman, you will have, as I did, heard his patients saying what a wonderful GP he was. He was a great GP. He happened to be killing half his patients, but he was a great GP. So it's hard to quantify, isn't it? Now, I know he was a rogue, and they're not all like that, but we can't just measure it on the basis of his patients think he's good at it.
We can see that in lots of things, in lots of papers, and you always think, oh, how on earth could they do such a thing? You know, but it's not related to the job and how good they do the job. And if people, you know, when you settle down, you can do a job just as good as the next man, then great, provided he is doing the job and he's doing it correctly, and so forth. And you hear about places where people aren't working up to the level that they really should be. Or you see those who work just that extra percentage more. They don't get any more money, but they do it because they want to do a good job in their own right.
But then you're left with the idea of the only way we can quantify whether a person is worth their wages is if they're prepared to work some of their hours for free. Because that's what you're doing. If you stay behind an hour at work, you're giving your employer an hour for nothing.
I'm not necessarily saying you work the extra hour, but you might produce your paperwork to a much better standard.
Oh,
I may come back having done my paperwork, which I could probably do sitting in the van. Right?
Well, okay, yeah.
And throw it in, or I can take it home and I can rub I can look what I'm supposed to have written on that line, and I can write it out in much neater form because I'm not bouncing about, etc.
Yeah.
And make a far better presentable job of it.
But you see, I would argue against that. I would say do it in the van, and if it's scruffy when it gets in there, say to your employer, well, if you give me an office, I'll do it tidy, but you've not given me an office, I've got a van, I'm not doing it at home. And I always say, for every 40 people who work an hour for free, there's another one on the dole. For every 40 people who work an hour for free, there's somebody else on the dole.
There may well be.
There is. But if you do an hour's work and 39 of your colleagues do an hour's work for your boss for free, then he needs one fewer employee.
Yeah.
Work for now for your boss, and all you're doing is stealing somebody's job.
No, I don't.
I
don't agree with that.
How not? How not?
No.
How not? Let's say his company to operate needs 100 people's worth of work, but everybody does an extra hour. So everybody does an extra hour. He gets 100 extra hours. 100 extra hours is a minimum of 2 fewer people. So he gets 100 people's worth of work done by 98 people. So there's 2 people on the dole.
Yeah, I can see the angle which you're coming from there, Alan. But as I said, I'm one who will do my paperwork like that. I know a good lot of my colleagues who don't, though, who will present it in. Just in its normal basis. But I want mine to look what I consider proper and decent.
Fair enough, mate.
I will willingly do that.
Good on you, mate. Good to talk to you. I'll send you mine if you like paperwork. I've got bloody tons of it. Have a good day, mate. Ta-ra now. 1:30 on BBC Radio Manchester. Regarding your trip to Las Vegas... You see, why am I being having a go at? Regarding your trip to Las Vegas, if I remember correctly, it was undertaken on the dubious pretext of looking at gambling in anticipation of the planned super casino in Manchester. As the project was subsequently abandoned, I hope you're paying the money back. No, of course I'm not. And neither's the BBC asking for it. They're a fine employer. And I worked then like a dog, and as far as I'm concerned... On that occasion, arguing against my own policy, I worked quite a lot for nothing, because all that time I was... You see, the way I see it, once you leave home in the morning, you're working until you go back in. There's no way around it. That's what's going on. Now, I normally do a 2-hour day. It was like being a working man, from what I can remember. I was doing 8-hour days in Vegas. 8-hour days! That's 4 days' work for me. Dear God, it was like carrying the world on me back. Just happened to be in a warm place. Oh, yeah, and I won in the casinos as well. But they couldn't have planned for that. I wasn't using BBC money for that. Otherwise, they'd have had it back. And the other thing is, we went out there, did the research, showed that what we'd end up with was very expensive prostitutes, tall buildings and a fountain that you can watch. That's what we would have got in East Manchester. The council heard our programme and the whole thing fell apart straight away. We informed the world. So our job was done. The fact that we never got the casino, 8-hour days, it was longer than that, wasn't it? I beg your pardon, it's all right. I'm stunned. I've just been sent one of them messagey thingies from one of my colleagues who happened to be loitering about in Vegas whilst I was there, saying, 8 hours, my arse. I don't know what the person means by that, but it's very, very harsh. I sweat blood. Well, I certainly sweat a lot, but then it was hot. John in West Horton. Hiya, John. Hello, John. Hello, John. Ooh, John's gone, apparently. We had John, and then we didn't have John. We seem to move about sharpish. Never mind. Shall we get on? 01612282255. Yeah, I'm wondering if the rent, £12,000 a month, has been made part of the £170,000 by the newspaper reports. If this is so, the actual benefits the family is currently receiving is considerably less. Well, yes, of course it has. Of course it has, indeed. What is it? 120,000. 12,000 for 12 months, isn't that 240,000, is it? I can never do these sums. These sums, they're just too hard. I think it is. I think it's 240,000. No, it can't. 140,000. 114,000? I'll have to do it now. Yeah, it's 114,000, isn't it? Who gives a bugger? Anyway, it's about that. But even then, the benefits are fairly muchly, aren't they? You know what I mean? I mean, 12,000 a month. Somebody said it's the landlord's fault. Couldn't quite see that. John, I think we've got you in West Orton. Hello.
Hello.
John. Hiya, mate.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing, matey?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Jolly joy. I'd like to speak about speed cameras.
Go on.
Now, I live on... it's difficult to say this.
Well, it doesn't matter. There's a speed camera in your street, I think is what you're going to say, is it?
Well, it's a rather sort of exclusive estate.
But has it got a speed camera in it?
Well, we've got one of these cameras that's like a telegraph pole, and when you pass it, if you go less than 30 miles an hour, it says your speed is 28.
Oh, I know what you mean now. Yes,
Right.
you've got one of those dot matrix signs that tells you the speed that you're travelling at.
It goes in green. And if you're travelling in 31...
It goes red.
It goes red.
Indeed, I've
Yes,
never
yes,
seen
yes.
the green. I didn't know it did green. Go on.
Right. So, and I was walking my little boy from school the other day, and there was a guy up a ladder putting the wiring back together, and he said, "Oh, flipping it, these kids pull all the wiring out and none." And I said, "Well, it's a bit funny, really, because it doesn't show the number plates."
Correct. Yeah? Well, I'm presuming it doesn't.
Well, it doesn't.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. Right, it doesn't show the number plate. Correct.
It doesn't. So, if you drive down the estate
Yeah.
and past the primary school,
Yes.
which is within 100 yards,
Yeah.
it doesn't show the number plates.
No, it doesn't.
Right, so it doesn't show the speeders.
That is correct.
Right. So, I was in my local pub.
On your posh estate, yeah.
On my posh estate.
Presumably having a G&T.
No, I was
Okay.
having a glass of beer.
A glass of beer. Well, that's posh enough for there. Go on.
And I happened to hear two local lads who have these little Peugeots with the exhaust pipes that look like a drain pipe.
Right.
And they were bragging, like, "I've been through that thing," and it said 58.
Yeah.
And someone said it said 61.
Yeah.
And it doesn't... Why doesn't it take the number plates?
Right. Because the authorities have discovered that in the overwhelming majority of cases, but not by any means all, if you tell drivers that they're breaching the speed limit, they will reduce speed to the speed limit, rather bizarrely.
Yeah, but Alan, with all respect, these people in the local pub
Indeed.
are bragging.
Yeah, I did hear you, I did hear you, and I even, believe it or not, took a note of what you said, and frankly, we're still in the situation where the overwhelming majority of people, as they drive past that sign and it displays the number of their representing their speed, if they get the red number, the overwhelming majority of people, but I say again, not all, reduce their speed to the number. Whereas, if it was the other kind of camera, which takes their photograph, for want of a better term, and then a computer follows it up by sending them a summons, when they drive past the school, because remember, they've not been told their speed, they only have their speedometer to go on, and we already know they ignore that. Instead of driving past the school at a lower speed, they get fined for driving past the school at a higher speed. So if you say, look, the speed is 30, the speed limit is 30, and you're doing 32, most people slow down to 30. If you merely observe that they're doing 32 and send them a summons, they drive past the school at 32. OK, it costs them 60 quid and 3 points on their licence, but there's still a child wrapped round their hubcap. Whereas, if they reduce speed, they don't have a child wrapped round their hubcap. Now, I do agree with you that there are some young people who are absolute bastards and wouldn't slow down if there were a machine gun pointing at them, and we can't really legislate for that. But local authorities and other researchers have discovered that by having the projection, the display of the moving speed of a vehicle, actually gets them to slow down, which, when all's said and done, is the objective.
Thank you, Alan.
OK, mate.
Thank you, my friend.
Do have a good day.
You do.
Exclusive estate in West Orton. It must be Daisy Hill, mustn't it? It's got to be Daisy Hill. Yeah. Well, Snoopy was born there, wasn't it? Because he was. No, Snoopy was Snoopy the dog. Fabulous. Snoopy that lives on top of a kennel, bizarrely. Snoopy that and sometimes flies rather equally bizarrely, flies a plane in the First World War. Don't understand that at all, but there you are. And has a friend that's a bird. Mind you, don't we all? Anyway, yeah, Snoopy. He was born at the Daisy Hill Puppy Farm, which, as you know, is just by West Orton. Smashing. 20 to 2 on BBC Radio Manchester. No, I've not a clue what I'm on about either, don't worry. 20 to 2, yeah. BBC Radio Manchester News headlines, Michelle Adamson.
A murder inquiry is underway after the body of a young woman was found in Bolton. Police were called to Macefield Drive in Farnworth at 10:30 this morning, following reports that a woman in her early 20s had been stabbed. Cheshire County Council is seeking an urgent meeting with the Chancellor about the money, £8.5 million, it had invested in Icelandic banks and their UK subsidiaries. The pilot who died when a light aircraft crashed onto Saddleworth Moor has been named as Niall Glover from Stockport. The father of two owned a children's nursery in Heaton Moor. And Manchester's weather, mainly dry and bright and breezy this afternoon, highs of 15 Celsius.
BBC Radio Manchester, 2020 traffic.
Traffic on the M67 eastbound queuing up between Three Hyde and Mottram Road because, of course, people are trying to avoid the delays on the M62 over the Pennines. 2 lanes on the M62 eastbound are closed to traffic because of some resurfacing work that's taking place in light of an earlier vehicle fire between 21 Mill Row and 22 Rushworth Moor. Delays still as far reaching as junction 20 at Rochdale. And if you're heading around the Lately Common area, the East Lancs Road on the A580 looking very congested, both directions around the Greyhound Island. Roadworks in the area really causing traffic to slow right down. Now don't forget, if you can update me further, call in on the travel line 0161 244 4951. I'm Cara Banks.
BBC Radio Manchester Sports with Steve Wilde.
Hello, good afternoon to you. England's multi-million-dollar 2020 match against the Stanford Superstars will go ahead in Antigua next month. An agreement's been reached between Sir Allan Stanford and the West Indies' main backers, Digicel, over sponsorship and branding rights. With each winning player set to collect $1 million in prize money, England batsman Alistair Cook's admitted the cash is the most important thing.
The actual cricket is quite unimportant apart from financially. We use it as a warm-up for probably the 2020 World Cup in England next year, and of course money does talk, and obviously a lot of the players are we're excited about playing it, but in terms of cricket importance, we know it's not that important and that we can only benefit, which is a good position to be in. But you talk about the Stanford Millions or the Ashes, there's probably only one winner.
Well, Sri Lanka is set to send a weakened team to England next spring after the country's sports minister told 13 senior players they can play in the Indian Premier League instead. They've signed up for the lucrative competition before Sri Lanka were invited to replace Zimbabwe. And the close of play on the opening day of the first test against India in Bangalore, Australia had reached 254 for 4, with captain Ricky Ponting making 123. The Manchester United defender Rio Ferdinand, who's set to captain England this week in the absence of John Terry, can't understand why some England supporters have labelled Wayne Rooney a has-been. Rooney's been back in the goals for United with 3 in 3 games and is expected to start up front for Saturday's World Cup qualifier against Kazakhstan.
Before that, everyone was saying he's struggling, he's gone, he's a has-been, and all these kind of shouts that you hear from people, he's this and he's that. But the thing that people sometimes miss with Wayne Rooney, he might not be a scorer of as many goals as other people, but he scores great goals and he's always there for the team. He works hard for the team, and you can't equate that into goals, how he works for your team. He's just a fantastic all-round footballer that you'd rather have playing in your side than against you.
Well, Wigan striker Emile Heskey is back in training ahead of Saturday's match. However, John Terry remains a major doubt and is undergoing further treatment today on a back injury. Stockport's Stephen Gleeson and Anthony Pilkington have been called up to the Republic of Ireland under-21 squad. However, the pair will still be able to play at Southend on Saturday. In Rugby League, the Swinton Lions chairman John Kidd has announced that following intensive negotiations, the Lions will continue to play at Sedgley Park's ground in Whitefield. It was thought Swinton would move to the Darwin area of Blackburn for next season, and the former Swinton and Lee hooker Gary Sykes has joined Oldham on a 1-year deal. Mark Calderwood has been explaining how he ended up representing England rather than Scotland at the Rugby League World Cup. Calderwood says he was ready to play for Scotland, but when the call came from England coach Tony Smith, he didn't hesitate to say yes.
I was planning to go for with Scotland, so I was looking forward to going to them, but I'm going with England now, and I'll be looking forward to it and obviously try and get in the team.
So when did you get a little bit of notice, if you like, that you might be with an England shirt?
We played Catalan away, and I spoke to Tony on a Sunday when we flew back, and he said, your form has been good and you're in for a shout.
And Calderwood is set to start tomorrow's World Cup warm-up against Wales in Doncaster. We'll have commentary on that game in Manchester Sports from 7 o'clock.
The next live action on the Northwest's biggest sports station.
Well, as well as that England-Wales Rugby League encounter, I'm off to Lincoln for Rochdale's match there in League 2. Manchester Sports from 7.
BBC Radio Manchester.
01612282255. You got something to say? That's fine. I'm sure we'll manage to enjoy hearing of it. Yeah. Alan in Marple says, I just heard you argue that it was not very ethical to recruit nurses from more needy countries, as Australia appears to do. It's not fair on the folk the nurses leave behind needing treatment. How very noble. And I agree, it should not happen. However, a few weeks ago I heard your rant about global warming. You said that even if it is caused by man, which you don't accept, unlike the majority of informed opinion, you don't care, because you'll be dead by the time it greatly affects us. Is there not a contradiction lurking here in your concern for your fellow man? No. I am concerned for my fellow man. I am not concerned for 3 generations away, because I'm not prepared to suffer in any minimal way so that someone 3 generations further on will have no need of suffering. Indeed, it is the responsibility of those between me and the 3 generations to sort out the future. And frankly, although the overwhelming body of scientific opinion is that mankind is causing global warming, unfortunately, if you stand still for a decade or two, that opinion will almost certainly change. Indeed, along with all the others. Scientists are only people who publish the details of the things that they know now. Sadly, scientists also admit readily that every piece of information they have is suspect. Every single piece of information scientists have is suspect. We know it's suspect, because if it was not, we would have no further need of science. Stuart in Newell Green.
Hi, Alan.
What for?
Alan, excuse me a second.
Okay.
Just listening to one or two of your callers and going about this lady that's in London.
Yes.
Well, good luck to her.
Oh, dear.
No, but hear me out. I've lived on benefits for 18 years. I've got a company pension, and it disqualifies me. But I'm reading the evening news, and we're talking about discrimination. We've got that character, is it Derek, BNP? And the evening news says, taunts led my gay son to kill himself. That's prejudice. And that's what that guy is all about, prejudice. Do you dare be different?
Well, I'm sorry, I would disagree with you. We cross swords frequently, Derek and I.
I know we do. Well, I do.
Indeed you do too. But I don't think it's fair. I mean, it depends what you mean by prejudice. We're all prejudiced. I'm prejudiced against smoking. I'm prejudiced against light ale. I'm prejudiced against many, many things. There's nothing wrong with prejudice. There are some prejudices.
Well, you have a problem with pride.
I don't have any.
Yes, you do.
Oh, well, I rather felt I had none.
You've expressed it.
I work very, very hard at not being proud, although I do get comfort from the fact that we live in a nation that many people think is kind. However, if we go back to Derek, he has a point of view. It is a perfectly legitimate point of view.
Yes,
and
exactly.
whenever I speak to him, he takes the trouble, now you could say it's driven by paranoia, but he takes the trouble to say that he's not against people from different countries, he just doesn't think they should be here. That's fine.
Well, that's prejudice, in my view.
Well, yes, it is prejudice, and I did concede that if we're going to go to a conversation of semantics, then prejudice is the only word that covers it. But then we have to discuss which prejudices are acceptable and which are not. And to say that I want my country to be populated by those who, in my view, belong here. Now, we can argue about that view, but who might, in my view, belong here is not an unacceptable prejudice. Indeed, it is held by the government. It's been held by governments for years.
But, Alan, I'm a Mancunian, born proud Mancunian, and you may have a problem with proud. I wear the rainbow colours. OK, let's get that out of the way. But somebody like Derek, at Lancashire and Manchester, the wealth was born of people, incomers, people who came in. The Romans, Manchester, AD 79 was it? The Irish, the helped build the ship canal, the roads, and so on and so forth. The Flemish weavers, people, foreigners, strangers that came to this country, and particularly to Manchester, and made it what it is. Now, where does Derek stand? Hello?
Well, I have no idea where Derek stands, but wherever he stands, one is entitled to say, look, when we want foreign people, or sometimes when we get foreign people not realising we wanted them, that's acceptable.
Alan, in 1963, I was a patient in Village Hall Hospital. The health secretary was one Enoch Powell, and he was known to go abroad, or sent his whatever, to recruit in the Caribbean, to bring nurses and doctors and so on and so forth to do our National Health Service. And I'm a product of that health service.
Well, OK, but even Enoch Powell wasn't against immigration per se, nor even against immigration of people with colour per se.
Alan, I agree with you.
He was frequently, and is still frequently, misquoted.
He is misquoted.
He didn't say the rivers should run with blood. He said
they will.
If our people, the indigenous population of this country, believe they are losing control of their country one way or another, the rivers will run with blood. And frankly, he might eventually be shown to be correct.
It's quite possible. My father's a lifelong communist, and he had a great, shall we say, can I say, an affinity with what Enoch Powell said.
Well,
didn't agree with him.
He may indeed, and you may say it. He was your dad after all.
Yeah, well, I hope so.
Yeah, well, indeed. Shivet, good to talk to
Cheers,
you.
Alan.
Thank you very much indeed. I do try not to come to the aid of members of the BNP, but I can't help it sometimes. I think they get hard done to. They deserve it, like, but that's another story. Bing bong bing.
Greetings, good lady. A flagon of your finest ale, if you please.
Certainly, kind sir. Shouldst thou not be out looking for work?
But soft, what light through yonder pub door breaks? It is the East End, and Bianca is the sun.
Ricky! Ricky! Wherefore art thou, Ricky?
Do something different and make a difference for BBC Children in Need.
Oh, sorry, this call sits digging right in.
Oh, yeah, this codpiece is killing me.
For your fundraising pack, call 0345 607 3333.
I can't remember his name, or even his gender. He might not be a male. What's the name of your feathered friend? Mine is that little yellow bird in Snoopy. We're back with Snoopy. Sorry, but you did ask. Mine's that little yellow bird, but I can't remember his name. What's the name of the little yellow bird in Snoopy? There'll be people that know. Clive said... It's not Tweety, is it? It's not, is it? Good Lord. How very sad. Oh, well, never mind. It's Tweety. You'd think he'd be more original than that. And the other thing about Snoopy is, and you keep hearing it on the news now, Linus. It's on all the time. They're on about the banks. They've got a Linus policy. Apparently you can't borrow £12 million unless you suck a blanket. It's very bizarre. Alan... Why, oh, why do they use red and green on them lamps? It's a bugger for us what's colourblind. Clive in Norfolk, you're working very hard today. Not well, just hard. David's got something offensive to say about... who was it? Can't remember now. Oh, yes, it was John. He got something offensive to say about John, and that's his privilege. We'll go no further. Will you tell John, says Adrian in Salford, it's not a speed camera. It's just a display telling you your speed. So it is then. Well, how does it know? Does it do it with radar? So it's everything but a camera. Yeah, all right, I understand that. It's not a camera. It's a screen. It's rather like describing your television as a camera. Oh, look at my camera. That's not a camera, it's a telly. Well, it won't work without a camera. Yes, but it's not a camera. OK, I agree. All right, we've done that. I know. Yeah. Life's too hard for me sometimes. The electronic cigarette. Does it shock you into stopping smoking? What, you think it's like a CD player? Every time you light up, it shouts rude words at you. Rude words! Yeah. Never mind. We got chased all round the houses once by a lad whose name I won't tell you because he might still be alive and might chase me again. But we got me and my line. Me and I think it was John Price. Who were the other? There were three of us anyway. You thought we could have had him, three of us. But there was this older lad walking by. He must have been about 16 or 17. He'd just started work. And we were about 9 or 10. And one of us said, let's call him names. And one of the other lot shouts, names, names. And so every time we saw him, we used to shout, names! And eventually he got fed up and chased us. He never caught us, but he could have done. Hello, Alan. Read GPs, £70,000 per annum. Blame the idiots that we have governing us. We can thank them for writing their contracts, reducing the hours, out-of-hours, call-outs. However, let me sit in your chair for a minute, if I may be so bold. I'm not interested in your salary, but divide that figure by the hours you actually work, and I'm confident that you're not far behind them in earnings for actual hours work. People who live in glass houses, blah, blah, blah. That's James from Sale. 2 hours a day. Yeah, probably not. Never mind. Yeah, can't argue with that. Seems reasonable to me. Maria says, how long would it be before the country went bankrupt if we adopted your policy of unlimited immigration? I also think there'd be a great deal of civil unrest. Well, there would be a deal of civil unrest if everybody that you think would come, did come. But you know all those Polish people that came, quite a lot of them are now going home because there isn't the work for them anymore. It is. Commercial migration is self-regulating. It's rather like all those stories in Germany about all these Brits coming over here and doing the work. They come over here, they do the work, I don't know, it's an absolute outrage. But those Brits are not still there. They've come home. Why? Because there's no work there for them, and they want to be at home. Yeah, I knew it wasn't Tweety. Peter in Norwich, I know, he knows. Dave in Risley. Woodstock. That was the name of the bird. I've been sold a Mickey here. Woodstock. Yeah, see? I know me stuff. Woodstock. Well, when I say I know me stuff, I can recognise me stuff when I see it. It's probably as near as I can expect to be. 0161 228 2255 to book a call for tomorrow. You're more than welcome. Oh, God knows what we'll be talking about. Yeah, I was interested to read a story today in the Manchester Evening News. I think I'll just share it with you, because I rather enjoyed it. I didn't share it at the beginning, because if I did, you'd have been blathering on about it. And frankly, you know, there are some things I'd rather have under control. But it's the best excuse yet. The best excuse yet. Still a crap excuse and a pack of lies, but the best excuse yet. Well, I can't even say it now. The best excuse yet for somebody parking illicitly using a blue badge. Yeah, it was a woman who has a restaurant in town. It's not fair to tell you the name of the restaurant. That is just unfair. But if you happen to be in Lloyd... never mind. Yeah, it's unfair. And she said, the reason I've been using somebody else's card, which I found on a garage forecourt in London, is because of the credit crunch. No, it's got. It's because you don't give a toss. Because, frankly, you're a nasty bit of work. Well, that's life. Ta-ra now.